So you have a great subscription box that you know people will love. But how much are they willing to pay for it? Together, with the guidance of key subscription insiders, we'll break down everything you need to know about pricing your subscription box in 6.5 minutes. At the heart of this entire process is finding your pricing structure. The pricing structure determines how much you should charge by figuring out the relationship between the value of your box and the cost it takes to create and ship it. In order to find your pricing structure, we'll be covering the following steps. First, we'll find the costs of procurement, fulfillment, and shipping. Then we'll establish our margins by analyzing competitors, scalability, and perceived value. And finally, we'll use all of that information to calculate how much we should charge for our box. So let's start from the beginning with procurement. First, we need to identify the cost of everything in your box. Determine how many items you plan to include in your box, and start reaching out to brands in order to collect the estimated value of each item. It's important to note that this calculates the amount that you will be paying for the items, not how much the actual retail value of the items cost. We'll be circling back to the retail cost when we talk about perceived value later on.
So for people just getting started, we say start local, be organized on your costing, on your budgets, on your timelines, and make sure that you're managing all of those expectations in advance.
If you're looking for help with procurement, here are the things that a procurement company can provide.
The role of a procurement company is to really help you navigate the supply chain with the path of least resistance. This includes finding the right kinds of products, negotiating costing on your behalf. Really the goal for these kinds of companies to make sure that product gets delivered to your warehouse on time.
Next, we need to add some additional costs that you will pay to get your box out the door. So let's shift our focus to fulfillment. If you're in the early stage, you'll most likely be fulfilling in-house in order to cut costs. In this case, you'll need to gather the total cost of packaging your product. This includes the price of the box itself and any additional packaging items such as crinkle paper, packaging peanuts, brochures, etc. But what if you don't want to take care of your fulfillment in-house?
Usually we find it makes sense to outsource when you're packing over 100 to 500 orders per month. When startups approach a fulfillment center, we typically want to look at where is the package being shipped to, where are they being shipped from, what are the weights and dimensions of that particular box.
It's also important to note that if you do work with a fulfillment center, you may receive better shipping rates because they have more bargaining power. Want to connect with shipping and fulfillment experts to help lower your costs? SubSummit's the world's largest direct-to-consumer subscription conference, and it's an incredible opportunity to do just that. Check out the link in the description for more info or visit subsummit.com. Now, it's time to establish your shipping costs. This can feel like the most difficult part of the pricing process, considering your subscription box may fluctuate in weight and shipping prices are always subject to change. First, identify the size and weight of the box by gathering what type of products you'll be packaging. Next, share this information with your shipping provider. This will help them identify your shipping costs.
For startups that are looking specifically for the cost of shipping, I would say the most important factors are how many boxes per month they're shipping, what are the size, weights, and dimensions of those boxes, and which location they're shipping from and which location they're shipping to.
If you're a startup, you'll most likely want to start shipping with USPS, as they have no contracts or minimum shipments. It's also important to note that the scale or future scaling of your business will also affect shipping rates. This is also a good time to set some rules in place, especially when it comes to the size of your box.
Kind of find out what an average weight is and then have a policy. Like, look, we'll never build a box that weighs more than X amount of pounds. Let's say it's 3. So whenever we're curating a box, if adding an item is going to put it over 3, we're not going to do it. Because at that point, you can identify what the average price point is up to 3 pounds.
Lastly, it's time to decide whether you will charge your customers for shipping or include that into the final price of the box.
The consumer behavior is that they expect free shipping. My advice is to include shipping in the product cost. If shipping is $8 and you want to charge $39 a month plus $8 shipping, I would suggest charge $49 a month.
Now let's dive into the fun part. It's time to identify your margins. Your margins are the profit your business will make after all these costs are subtracted. A good plan for startups is to start with a margin of 25 to 30%. But ultimately, you'll want to increase that to about a 50 to 60% margin as you scale. So how do you find out what your current margins are, and how do you scale it? Consider these factors. What is the scale of my business? What are my competitors charging? And lastly, what is the perceived value of my box? For those of you who don't know your perceived value, here's how you can figure it out. Research what the individual items in your box cost at a retail price, and then compare that to the value of your box. After that, consider how customers feel when receiving, opening, and using your subscription box. The unboxing experience you provide needs to be more valuable than if your customer were to just buy the individual items off of Amazon. And lastly, incorporate any additional perks that may coincide with your box, like an exclusive Facebook group or product discounts. The customer experience is a very important factor in defining your perceived value. Now that you've identified all of the costs associated with your box and your margins, it's finally time to calculate how much your box should cost. So, let's do some basic math. Multiply the cost of your box by the margin percentage to figure out how much revenue your margin will provide. Then add that number to the cost of your box to find out how much you should charge for your box. Let's say your box costs $40 to make and you're working with the typical startup margin of 25%. 40 times 0.25 gives us $10, which is the revenue your margin creates. Finally, add that $10 onto the $40 it costs for us to create the box. Putting it all together, you now know that you should charge $50 for your box. Congratulations, you did it! And that's everything you need to know about pricing your subscription box in 6.5 minutes. If you found this video helpful, like this video and leave a comment. And if you want more subscription insights on how to launch, grow, and scale your business, subscribe to this channel. Catch you next time.